Ladies and gentlemen, coming up right now, we have a knowledge presentation that will put the spotlight on Know Your Consumer. Please put your hands together and welcome on stage to make this presentation Consumer Lead Deloitte India, Anil Talreja.
Good morning, everyone. I think we've seen and witnessed in the last few months a lot about technology. We've seen disruptive devices. We've seen a lot of omni-channels. We've seen convergence in the form of payments. We've seen a lot of the stuff that affects the consumer. But what I'm going to do is make you step back and just think about this. Do you really know your consumer? You know, what we've done is just to sort of enable you to get a little macro perspective. We have a research document that is getting released as I speak outside, and you can pick it up. We're just sort of looking at things, all the technology that comes into the center of the spectrum, but everything is circling around the consumer. So do you really know your consumer? That is something that we'd like to take you through. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through some of the criticalities that we are experiencing in our interactions with consumers, retail companies, and all other consumer products entities. And you will not believe a lot of the channelization, a lot of the marketing spends is all circling around the consumer. It's a very old saying that consumer is the king, and it is a matter of fact. So with the advent of technology, with the advent of cloud, with the advent of all the new payment systems, as we heard, I think we don't have to forget that we have to do this only because it is the demand of the consumer. You have AR, VR technology, which is the next big thing. If you just look at how things have evolved, consumers were always, in India in particular, they were always wanting to do a look and feel before they would take a decision to purchase. A look and feel is where consumer walks into a store, wants to see how the product looks, feels it, maybe if it's an apparel, tries it, and then decides whether he should purchase it or not. That was the past. The next stage was to do an online sale of the same product, whereby you would sit in front of your laptop or computer and then decide whether you want to take this purchase or not. Beyond that, as time progressed and with the help of technology, things moved towards getting the full shopping experience on your mobile phone, whereby by a click of a button or by using your fingers, you would take a decision that I need to purchase this. Much beyond that, 10 steps forward, the next stage of revolution was voice. So people didn't even want to use their fingers to tap into the mobile and purchase. They just wanted to give instructions. So that's how lazy our consumers are. So they just wanted to say a few things onto a device and automatically things get shipped. That's the voice recognition. What next? 10 years from today, do you anticipate with the help of cognitive intelligence, with the help of RPA, with the help of artificial intelligence and bots, do you think there will be a brain wave that will get created between the consumer and the retailer, and just that brain wave will trickle the purchase and the payment to be made? I'm sure that is the next round of evolution. But as I was saying, technology can take you in one corner of the room, but we don't have to forget that it is only that if a particular product or a brand is liked by a consumer, that brand or product is going to be successful. In that research material that we have just launched, we've just given a little bit of a flavor of what is the depth of the consumer. What are the different types of consumers that you anticipate or you can foresee in India? As was mentioned a few minutes ago, we talk about e-commerce. E-commerce makes a lot of noise in the newspapers in India, and I'm sure you will agree. Every day in the morning when you see your papers, there's at least one or two big news items which talk about a particular e-commerce company wanting to do an acquisition in India, or a particular online shopping company wanting to tap more consumers. But the fact of the matter is that e-commerce comprises, and this is a matter of fact and we've got evidence to prove this, e-commerce comprises of 3% of the India retail industry. Can you believe that? 3% of the total retail market in India is e-commerce. The amount of scope that e-commerce has to grow is phenomenal. In spite of being less than a single digit or almost 3%, it makes so much noise. We see a lot of press about, is online going to overtake offline? We talk about, is e-commerce going to take over brick and mortar stores? Imagine the size and the topography and the scale of our country with the fact that e-commerce is only 3%. Can it ever take over brick and mortar? It has to coexist. We believe that online and offline, given the Indian market's condition and the consumption potential, will coexist at least in the next 10 years. What are the nuances? If one were to look at, just analyze the consumer market, and I'm just going a little bit in depth of knowing your consumer. What is the type of consumer that you're going to deal with? We speak about consumers being lazy, etc. But what is it in the consumer? This gives you a quick overview of what are the types of consumers that are present in India. And mind you, the average age, as we all know, the average age of an Indian is about 27.4 years. Given the size and the population of our country, that's a phenomenal number to reach. What you've tried to do in this research document is to try and analyze the consumer in a little different manner. We've not done the brainwave analysis. We've done more hardcore sort of rural market analysis in this document. Even if you have a young consumer and the consumer is based out of a very rural area, he or she will try and see if he has connectivity to the internet and try and see if he can explore certain goods that he would buy. And remember, that is the power of the consumer. We've actually done a very interesting analysis which is up in this research paper, and that is, what is the broadband connectivity of various cities? Now, India being such large, and we know all the metro cities have fantastic connectivity on internet and telephone, but what is the level of connectivity in each state? What is the level of connectivity in Bihar? What is it in Uttar Pradesh? What is it in Chandigarh? We've done that analysis to just showcase that which are the markets that can be easily tapped by e-commerce companies, which are the markets that have a connectivity insofar as internet is concerned, and which are the markets that retailers can actually look up for. Because more often than not, the larger markets tend to be saturated early. And this is open for everyone. You just need to decide which markets you're going to focus, and you will still stand to grow. A lot of the large companies, consumer and retail companies, they've actually changed their strategies to move to the rural India from the urban India. We give a glimpse of that potential in the publication. So what's in it for a shopper or a consumer? We know about e-commerce, but S-commerce is the next thing. With social media, there's a lot that companies are doing, even in terms of their ad campaigns. They're channelizing their advertisements, not in print, no longer in media, but largely in the social content. It'll be astonishing to know that M-commerce, which is M-shopper, has grown at a compounded average rate of 145% in the last 10 years. It is promising that it will grow at a similar stage. The reason why you see those astonishing growth rate is because the absolute numbers are still small in relative terms to the West. And that's why you see maximum growth happening where there is higher internet connectivity. The traditional Indian consumer was always scared in making online payments. But the young generation consumer in India doesn't care. They just want to sit on their couch and go ahead and from start to end finish their transaction. So making an online payment is very casual for them. So what's it for retailers and companies to do? Given that the consumer is so high demanding, how do companies channelize their sales? How do companies channelize their products? Again, there it's important to recognize the psychology of the Indian consumer. The Indian consumer is very emotional. Once the consumer likes a product, it takes a lot of time, by the way, to the consumer in India to like a product, but once he likes it, it is a word of mouth, and that just makes the product very successful. On the other hand, there's a very big disadvantage. If a consumer does not like a particular product, or there is negative publicity about a particular product, then it's going to be very tough for that brand or the company to even survive in India. So the Indian consumer takes brands very close to their heart. And that is what one has to understand when one recognizes the pulse of the consumer. So when we talk about what are your touch points to your consumer? How do you get in touch with the consumer? There are various. There's always an information overload, whether it's spam emails, whether it's SMSs, whether it's WhatsApp messages, but the successful retailer is one that directly hits to the heart of the consumer. And that is tough to get. I can also tell you, basis our discussions with a lot of consumers and retail companies, that even if a strategy that is adopted by a retailer does not succeed in a particular market in India, there are enough other markets and other parts of India where there is potential to succeed. So there is never a situation where the company is in a full loss situation. If you lose, say, in the west of India, because you're not able to tap the consumer, you can change your strategy, go to the south of India, and maybe you may succeed. The market's so large and so unconnected in some sense of the term. So with that, I think what is important to recognize is the psychology of the consumer, as I said. What are the traditional drivers? What are the future drivers? And how does a retailer become successful? Lastly, I think one important side effect or a byproduct of any omni-channel, of any market as big as India, is the generation of substantial data. We all know that when a particular technology touches your phone, all the data in the phone is extracted out and it's put in a central repository. With the statistics that we heard in the earlier session, the kind of phone usage, the kind of internet penetration, you can imagine the amount of data that gets deposited in a central place. What do you do of that data? Is there a structured way to manage that data? You have significant solutions. It's called the Customer Experience 360 solutions, whereby you can actually manage the data and retrieve it in the fastest and the most efficient manner. So data generation is happening as we speak. There's a lot of data of consumers that gets captured. But I can tell you in the next 4 or 5 years, there will be usage of this data. And at that point of time, that particular retailer or that company that actually is able to use the data in the fastest and the most efficient manner is going to be successful. So let's think about the future. How do you use the data that is going to get generated today? If you don't think about that part, then the sustainability part into your organization will be a risk. With that, I think the interesting conclusion that we have derived as a result of our research is consumers, like never before, are agile. They're very alert, and they are substantially aware of what is good for them and what is not. Just to give you an example, health awareness, it's substantially growing. There are lots of food items as well as other cosmetics and fashion which the consumers know are not too healthy for them. And hence, there is a certain amount of risk on survival of those companies. Having said that, if the companies navigate and channelize their marketing strategies to touch upon the health quotient of a consumer, that is the way to go. Without that, retailers and consumer product companies can't be successful. So, consumers are very agile. You can't underestimate them. And hence, it is extremely important for you to know your consumer. And that is something which is the title that we have given to our research document. I'm sure you would love reading it. And if there are any other questions after you've gone through this, we'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you very much for your time this morning.